There's an argument to be made that games started as a form of minimalist art. While text adventure games are an obvious exception, early games that tried using graphics had limited options. Complex visuals were impossible to render, so abstract images were used to represent real objects like the paddles in Pong, being tennis rackets. Unlike most minimalist art, the spare qualities were a necessity instead of a choice. Thus, as graphical capabilities grew, gaming started to move away from this early minimalist style. Because one could do more, the popular trend was to do more, and often to disastrous results. For every medium-pushing experience like Final Fantasy VII or Super Mario 64, there was a Bubsy 3D not far behind. The indie boom in the late 2000s helped bring minimalism back to the medium, but mainly in the world of puzzle games. It makes sense, as puzzle games don't require the same level of graphical complexity to be engaging. There's no world to save, no enemies to defeat, just a problem that needs to be solved. A problem is such an abstract concept that it can be nearly anything as long as it is something that needs a solution. You can show this with just some blocks falling on the screen and trying to create a line. Most often used as a foundation for every single popular puzzle series in gaming history, proving insanely effective with the original Tetris. This allows for an easy creation of tension, making the player consider their actions in the moment, having them improve with more and more plays they get used to the rhythm of the game. However, not every puzzle game follows this formula. Thomas Boker, the creator of the indie puzzle game LYNE, describes his simple game very efficiently. Deceptively simple, infinitely complex. It will knot your brain as it calms your soul. LYNE has no time limit, no falling pieces you have to line up in a limited time frame, and no punishment for mistakes. It is simple trial and error with the most simple sort of puzzle. You are given a board of squares, diamonds, and triangles with at least 2 different colors on display. You have to connect all shapes of one color together in a line, starting and ending with the prime shapes portrayed with a smaller white shape within them. You can't connect shapes of different colors, and gray shapes on the boards with holes in them can be used as an intermediate link point for connections and are the only spots where line chains can link together. All holes in these spaces must also be filled, which occurs when a line passes through them. It starts very easy and then becomes a near hellish challenge that sucks you in for hours on end. I suffer from some stress issues and tend to fixate on problems as they cross my path, which makes fast-moving puzzle games tricky for me to get into. I like a good game of Tetris or Puyo Puyo, but neither has hooked me in as long as LYNE has. There are other minimalist puzzle games I played with a similar effect, such as Hex Cells or Sokoban, both highly recommended, but LYNE remains the one that has clicked with me the most. I've pondered why for a while, because all these games work with similar minimalist styles. The conclusion I reached is that only LYNE truly follows the minimalist style to its fullest. Minimalism is itself a rejection of modernist thought, which was focused on making new and amazing things, and is also counter to the stream of thought focus of abstract expressionism. Abstract expressionist works in games are rare due to the complex nature of making a rule-based structure, but modernist game development is fairly common. Modernism is basically using the pieces of what came before to make something new, rejecting faith for thought. In simple terms, it is a view dealing with planning and action. Immersive sims like the Shock series and RPGs with complex cause and effects webs are great examples of modernist thought and design, while many indie games deal heavily in postmodern thought, examining the political and social in an overly critical way the modernists never did with many of the tools they helped establish, like meta-narrative. Minimalist design does not try to express complex ideas through complex means, but instead simplifying everything for a given purpose. In the case of LYNE, it is about creating a mood we rarely see in gaming. There's no rush, no long list of complicated variables to take into account. It's just a series of boards with shapes and a simple task. You do the task at your own pace, playing around with what's on the board. Nothing more, nothing less. Even as the patterns get more and more complex, the game never really frustrates like most games do, and instead absorbs in the frustration. Minimalist art's greatest strength is expressing something with just simple shapes and colors. It can't express complex ideas easily, but it can create a planned emotional response in the viewer by just a glance. LYNE takes this to heart in ways other minimalist puzzle games I've played never quite did. It's almost nothing but you and the board. Sound effects are designed like simple pings and echoes, and what music is there is ambient and quiet. It's like exploring a sparsely populated museum exhibit, but with the addition of a problem to deal with that creates a strange mixture of engagement and meditative atmosphere. The strange power of LYNE has is what keeps me absorbed in it when I play it. Whenever I encounter a problem in real life, like a machine not working quite right or an object that needs to be used in a particular way no one quite knows, I like to tinker and think. I move pieces and see if a solution appears to me, see what does and what doesn't work, and what does and doesn't affect what. You'd think this would make me a jigsaw junkie, but I'm not. There's not much thought in finding pieces that fit, just monotony. LYNE's puzzles are significantly more complex the longer the game goes on, reminding me of the structures and functions of simple machines. They fit in a particular way, but finding out how is tricky. I have some anger issues and tend to get frustrated fairly easy when a particularly obnoxious problem is in my way, something most puzzle games make me re-experience. LYNE never does this no matter how far I get. It uses minimalist design in every aspect of itself, and the end result is an involved but mellow game. I think more minimalist games could learn something from LYNE's complicated simplicity, as could most games in general.